the Artery PAL 18650. Let's have a look. Hey guys, Abe and Vic here, back with another review. Today we are looking at this. This is the Artery PAL 18650 from Artery and EH Pro, presumably. What is it? It is another PAL. It's another Artery PAL. This is a big line for Artery. We just did the PAL SE, there's the PAL Stick, there's the PAL Dogs, PAL Cat. They do a lot of these PAL devices. They tend to be pre-made coils, lowish wattage, out and about, starter kits, AIOs, pod systems, all that stuff. And this is no exception, but this is kind of the biggest and brightest so far. 18650 in here. It's very billet box-esque. It's a poor man's billet box, a 10 bob billet box, if you like, is what this is. It's got an 18650 in here, hiding behind this door. 60 watts variable wattage. It's got a screen and buttons and everything. And of course it's got a little tank and a little coil in here as well, so quite billet box-esque, very pocket friendly. It's kind of the size of a pack of cards, and it's not only available in this crazy red, there is a nice looking one as well. Yeah, so let's dive down low. I'll give you a proper look at this, you see what I'm going on about, then we'll come back up top for pros and cons. See you down there. Alright guys, here we are down low with the Artery 18650 PAL 18650 from Artery. This is it. This is the red one. There is better looking colours available as well. I'll show you those at some point in the video, but yes, this is it. This is very much it. So let's go around it. I don't want to keep you down here too long. Traditional 510 drip tip. Some are snugger than others, you know, so pick the right one or just use the one that comes with. Yeah, you'll have to have a play around with that. You've got your fire button there, you've got Artery here, USB Type C, so don't just throw away your cable, keep hold of that, you will need it. This is where your airflow comes in. We'll talk about airflow a bit more in a second. Fire button, as we've said. And this is your juice level viewing window, and you can see the coil through that window as well. It's an interesting one with the window. I was a bit confused by this. I saw on the Devil Vapor, shout out to the Devil Vapor, I saw on his video, he was also concerned by this window, and he said it improves the airflow if you actually seal this window up, because it's just a hole. If you put a bit of sellotape over that, it does actually reduce the noise of the airflow and the feel of the airflow as well. So strange that, but yeah, if you put a bit of sellotape over that window, happy days, it works better. Speaking of which, and the airflow and all that sort of stuff, it's slightly confused design because the airflow comes in here, but as you can see, it goes into the coil there. So that's why it's rattling around, that's why it's quite turbulent, it's quite noisy and all that kind of stuff. It's a shame they couldn't think of a smarter way of making that airflow work. You do actually have adjustable airflow as well, so if we put this door to one side, we grab it by these two latches. There's a bit to get your finger in there, there's a bit to get your finger in there, you kind of just have to wiggle it out bit by bit. There we go, so you're left with a hole here. So this is your coil head and your tank. There we go, like that is your adjustable airflow. Can you see that? Adjustable airflow there, like that. And that's the situation with the airflow. It is what it is, you know. While I'm here, I'll show you this. This is how you fill her up. Let's stick some juice in, actually, that won't hurt anyone. Touch more of the old deep rooted. Good juice this. Enjoying all the flavours. So put a bit more of that in there, happy days. Another thing to note about this tank, and I've noticed this with a few coil heads, pre-built coil head type atomizer sub-tank type things recently, they don't like being low in juice. It almost floods it, you know. So if you get really low, you see where this min is, do fill her back up, because it'll lead to flooding if you just let it keep it with low in. I think it just kind of sucks all the juice in when you vape if it's too low. If there's air between the intake and the juice, it seems to suck it in, so watch out for that. But yeah, that's your tank. And obviously this pulls out and you get a coil. So here's a spare base I've got here. You've got your adjustable airflow still, but this coil screws out and you put your next coil in. This is the 11 watt mouth to lung coil, by the way. And you screw that in, and then you just push it and pump it back in there, and that is the thing. So tank back in place. It goes in a lot better than it comes out, thankfully, like that. And then you can see we've got your screen and you've got your up and down wattage buttons. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, PAL 18650, and you can see it's a 30 watt jobby. I'm about 20 watts at the mo, and that's firing away nicely. There's no like additional like buttons or anything. You don't need anything. It's just a straight wattage thing. When you've got it on, you don't need to keep opening this to play. If you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a light here that flashes for on and off, so you don't have to keep taking the door off every time you turn it on and off, you know. So that's a thing. Don't worry about that. On the other side, if we flip her around, we've got the battery 18650. That's the beauty of this device for me, that it's 18650, and that's your fire button, obviously. So that's all good, and obviously that goes on like that. No play, rattle or anything with the door. In terms of size and dimensions, it's kind of like a deck of cards. Best way to think of it is kind of like a deck of cards. Feels like a deck of cards in your hand, and it's that kind of proportion and dimension. So there we go. Let's fly back up top. Okay guys, that was the PAL 18650 down low. Couple of specs and things I should tell you about. 18650 batteries, but it does have a USB Type-C port if you want to charge it on board. 3mm capacity tank if you're outside of the TPD. If you're inside the TPD, it's a 2mm tank. 510 drip tips on top, although some tips will work better than others just because of the nature of the seal and the fit and the finish. And all that sort of stuff. 60 watt board in here, and it is just variable wattage, no TC or any of that horse shit. So that is basic stats on here. Like I say, it's about a deck of cards, about the size of a deck of cards. This is a popular AIO from Geek Vape, the Boost. It's a bit shorter, but it's a tiny bit squatter. It's a bit smaller than the Boost, so it's got that going for it. So there we go. I've got the cloudy coil in, the 0.4 coil, which is about a 30 watt coil ish, and I've got it about 30 watts ish, and it's vaping like this. Nice and cloudy, but nice and noisy, you may have noticed as well. One quirk I did talk about down low is the juice viewing window, which isn't really a window, it's a juice viewing hole, and it's a shame because that's actually the source of some of the noise. If you put your finger over there, it's actually quieter. Watch this. Hopefully that came across, but it was much quieter when you seal up the door. So to fix that yourself, if you want to just fix that yourself, you just put a little bit of sellotape over the door from the inside, and it solves that problem. So that's a quirky thing. I think probably the biggest negative of this device is the way this red one looks. The bluey black one looks way cooler. But that to one side, I think the airflow is probably the weak point of this device. The air comes in here, it has to go all the way around to get to the coil intake, and then it goes up there, and it makes for a noisy, turbulent vape. Beyond that, I really like this device, but the airflow could have been slicker, could have been smoother. You know what I mean? So that is a thing. Beyond that, I do like this. I do like this device. I talked about it being, a 5-bob billet box before, and I sort of stand by that. It's kind of, it's not as pretty as a billet box. It's not as solid as a billet box, but it kind of works and looks and feels like a billet box, and it's kind of a budget billet box. It really is a kind of a budget billet box, and I'm comfortable saying that. Similar dimensions, similar style. It's got a lot going for it. In terms of what we don't know the RRP at this point, the recommended retail price. I think it's going to be about 40 quid, 35, 40 quid, which is very, very affordable. It is very well put together. There's no issue with the doors, there's no rattle, there's no wobble. It's a very solid device. I think 35 is a great price if it comes out at that. The other thing we don't know at this point is if there'll be an RBA for it. I think that would really help it if there was a rebuildable option. I don't know if they can do a rebuildable option with that coil. I think they would have to manufacture it so the base was also involved in an RBA section, just looking at it myself. But I would welcome an RBA for this device. Overall, I like it. Overall, I like this device. I like the way it vapes, and I like the way it works. It works way better with this 0.4 coil than the mouth to lung coil, in my opinion. Something about this for mouth to lung with this big gaping air, and it just doesn't feel super mouth to lungy as a device. I'm enjoying it with a 0.4 coil. And it's definitely one of my favourite AIOs, affordable AIOs that's out right now. It really is. I'm really enjoying it. I also like that it doesn't have a reviewer's name on it. Artery and EH Pro seem to be becoming synonymous with randomly putting reviewers' names on stuff. And I think it's nice that they didn't put someone's name on this for a change. I think that's a nice touch. So I'll throw that out there as a positive as well. So it's pretty good. I love that it's 18650, means you can swap it out, good battery life, etc. 60 watts variable wattage is a plus as well. The tank is fine, a little bit fiddly to get out, but no big deal. But the tank works fine, the coils work fine. So much about it is good. I think the airflow could be tweaked. I'd like to see an RBA head and maybe some sexier colours. I think there's only the 2 colours available right now, but yeah, overall I think it's a good device. I do think it is a good device. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.